Hey guys, so today I want to talk about my new Gathering Storms One Punch Hollow Palm Acolyte of Chayula character. Now that's a long name, but it's definitely worth it because it is so damn cool. Now this build uses the new tech that people have been finding with Culmination support to make it so that pretty much any big one-shotting ability, like big one-shot strong attack ability, can just do a big amount of burst to the enemies. And personally, I didn't want to use Tempest, like Falling Tempest, because I just thought that Falling Tempest is a little bit lame. It's not like an actual punch or a palm strike, whereas Gathering Storms is a cool palm strike ability. It fits the fantasy of the punchy, kicky character much more than the Falling Tempest does, so as a result, I went with Gathering Storms as my single target ability. Now, I will have to say, it's definitely not as good as Falling Thunder. It does not have the damage scaling for the quality, and there's also a lot of setup that needs to go into it with the Frost Wall setup that I will have a link in the description below teaching you how to do the setup in detail. I'll go over it a little bit, like very high level, but in detail, if you want more information, I'll have a link in the description talking about it. But I am very careful, guys, about not calling this a one-shot setup, because this is not a one-shot setup, and none of the Hollow Palm one-shot setups are one-shot setups, guys. Take a look at this. Hollow Palm one-shot build. Do you see that? That's 1.2 million damage done to the boss, and that is missing HP. This is not a one-shot. Well, first off, Corbin, this is not a one-shot setup. Mr. Puget, one-shot any boss. This is not a one-shot setup. And Mr. Farum, this is not a one-shot setup. You guys are hitting the boss a million times before you go and do the big burst. That is not a one-shot. You want to see a real one-shot? This is a real one-shot. My one-shot magma barrier. You see, look at this. 0 damage done to the boss. Boom, one shot. 0 damage done. Boom, one shot. One shot. And one shot. You see that? That is a real one shot. And before you guys are like, oh, but you're throwing in the Eye of Winter. The Eye of Winter has brutality on it, so it does no damage. All it does is give the critical weakness, which it doesn't do that anymore. This is back in 0.1. But yes, these are one-shot setups, and those are not. These other ones are not one-shot setups, including mine. Mine is not a one-shot setup. It is a one-punch setup using Gathering Storms and Frost Wall. But let's go into the character itself. It is the level 92 Acolyte of Chayula, my same character as before. We are on CI with 4.7k energy shield, running kind of lowish spirit. You can just do this with 100 spirit. It doesn't really matter. You don't need the extra. I just have a pendant, an amulet that gives me a little extra spirit. Evasion is at 50%. We get to about 53 when we're fighting. Not super, super high, but we have all our resistances maxed out. And obviously, chaos doesn't matter since we are energy shield with CI. But yeah, this character is still the same character as before, but there is quite a few differences between the character that is the Tempest spell setup versus this character that I wanted to kind of differentiate and make it kind of like a new build plus, I guess. So going into the skills, we are still using Into the Breach with Harmonic Remnants, Remnant Potency, and Herbalism. You can take this off if you don't have the extra spirit. It really doesn't matter too much. I rarely use Pos on this build anyways. Shattering Palm is going to be the main form of clear along with Ice Strike with Momentum, Chaos Attunement, Ancestral Call, Pinpoint Critical, and Magnified Area. Pinpoint Critical is just there to make sure that we're always critting. I have about an 80% crit rate or something like that, and this brings it up to basically 100. Ice Strike, we have Crescendo, Close Combat, Rapid Attacks, Concentrated Area, and Rage. Hand of Chayula. This is what we use for our single target. We always go in with a Hand of Chayula before we set up our one shot. And before we had here as Second Wind because we needed the charges. But now we don't rely on Sniper's Mark for charges at all. And so we use Blind. Honestly, I might be taking off Sniper's Mark for Voltaic Mark soon. I think the higher shock is going to benefit this build a lot more than the Sniper's Mark does, because landing it on the boss and keeping it there for the actual one punch is kind of hard sometimes. So I might be swapping it to Voltaic Mark. But we currently have Despair, Sniper's Mark, Rapid Attacks, Heightened Curse, and Blind to make sure we're blinding the boss, because we do have some blind nodes on our tree that rely on the boss being blind. For our one-shot setup, of course, we have Gathering Storms with Window of Opportunity, Rage Forge, Culmination, inevitable critical to make sure we're always critting whenever we hit, and we have close combat too. Ice Wall, which is the other part of the one shot, one punch, is going to be spell cascade, rapid casting, cooldown recovery, and prolonged duration to make sure that the wall lasts as long as I can before we go in for the big old punch. But basically how this works is that Gathering Storm has a part of its ability that does shock waves. And basically, whenever you hit an enemy with the perfect timing, it will release a shockwave around that enemy that does this amount of damage whenever you hit them. So every enemy that you hit on the way will do a shockwave. And funny enough, these frost walls all count as enemies. So all these crystals will count as enemies. And when you rush into it with your Gathering Storms, that will do the Gathering Storm damage on top of also doing the shockwave damage. And that is the combo. So you put the frost wall down, you put the enemy right in front of it, then you'll go Gathering Storms into the enemy and the walls to do a ton of burst damage. Again, if you want the full detail on how to get this setup working, I am going to link that in the description below with a timestamp, because this was basically what I used for my Gathering Storms Invoker, and that's where I explained everything. So that's just a real high-level explanation about how you do it. Now, for our we also use Infernal Cry to boost our damage for our Gathering Storms. It also boosts the damage of the shockwaves as well, so it's very nice, like, you know, double, triple dips or whatever you want to call it. We're using Wind Dancer right now for our kind of avoidability to get us more evasion, combined with Ghost Dance, all for survivability. Wind Dance, we have Maim, Pin, and Knockback. Honestly, I should probably put Blind on here as well, since we're not using Charged Staff anymore. And Ghost Dance is linked with Compressed Duration to make sure that we get the stacks back faster. And Withering Presence is there for damage, so we have Chaos Mastery and Prolonged Duration there as well. Now, for this setup, we got rid of Combat Frenzy and Charged Staff because we don't have a bell anymore. We don't need those like Charged Staff hits to proc the shocks on the bell. So this helps us a lot with just comfiness. That way we don't have to worry about charges, and we don't have to worry about always buffing up the Charged Staff. So we were able to free that up and then add Ghost Dance instead to give us more survivability, because Ghost Dance actually does add quite a bit of survivability. Just because there are going to be times you're not leeching and you get hit, then you get a quick instant recovery, which is very nice. Now for the equipment, it is basically the same as before. We have Energy Shield on our helmet and Energy Shield on our boots. Our chest is hybrid, and we have the Original Sin and Essentia Sanguis to turn everything into chaos and allow us to leech into our Energy Shield as opposed to our HP. Our belt is a rare belt. I would recommend using the Darkness Enthroned belt, which is the new Abyss belt, or using Ingenuity if you're able to manage your resistances. I'm not able to manage mine right now, so that's why we have this here. But if you want a higher DPS setup, you definitely want to go Ingenuity or Darkness Enthroned. One thing I also want to mention, because I don't think I've ever mentioned this, is that Stone Charm is very, very important for this build. Without Stone Charm, you're going to get stun locked quite often. Stone Charm doesn't prevent you from being stunned, but after you get stunned the first time, it'll just prevent you from being stun locked for that duration, which is really nice, because being a CI character, you're going to get stunned quite often, even with nodes like this. That'll make it so that your stun threshold is higher. Now, for our tree, we are currently, again, Chayula Monk. We are using the Unraveling node because this allows us to shock enemies and freeze enemies and ignite enemies. This is mainly, in my opinion, for single target. You actually shock the enemy very consistently because you are using the Culmination support gem right here. You're going to be hitting the enemy to gain combo a lot at the beginning. And by the time you've stacked up your combo enough, you're going to have enough, hit them enough to have shocked them already. So this just is very nice for shock for one single target. Now, we're also using Sap of Nightmares to leech, combined with our Original Sin to turn everything into chaos, and Essentia Sanguis for leech, turning our life leech into energy shield leech. Then we have Waking Dream for Into the Breach, which adds a little bit of extra damage. Now, you'll see on the tree that we have some, red lines for a weapon swap 1, but no green lines. That's just because I'm just too lazy to turn these back into regular, and it also costs money, so I didn't do that. For your purposes, these can just be on, 0 weapon sets. We're not using a weapon swap for this, just because when you swap while building up combo for Gathering Storm, it will mess up the combo and bring it back to 0. Now, something that is different about this build compared to the last one is that we got rid of this circle, mainly because we wanted to get these nodes right here. This makes it so that whenever you consume combo, it'll deal up to 40% extra damage, additional damage. That's a nice little bit of damage, but mainly it's for chakra rhythm because I don't attack like super fast, right? It's fast, but like we're not building up combo like Tempest Flurry does. So having this extra attack speed is going to be nice, and also being able to have extra chance to build additional combo on hit is going to make it so that you get your one punch setup a lot faster. So this little node cluster right here is kind of the main new thing, on top of the fact that for this character, and this was on the other character as well, I just didn't update it in the tree because not everybody's going to have a time loss jewel here. But this is a great place for a time loss jewel because you have so many notables. This gives us crit chance and crit damage for notables. I would ideally like to have some energy shield on here as well, but beggars can't be choosers, right? So we have a lot of notables here, and this helps us give a bunch of crit chance and crit damage as a result. But this little cluster right here is really cool because it gives us a lot of crit chance and crit and damage against dazed enemies, which we daze pretty dang often because of how fast we attack. So this is just very nice to have for a single target. For AoE, you're not really dazing enemies all that often when you're just killing the monsters in the map. So this is not only this is pretty much only for single target, but it's perfectly fine and gives us a lot, especially combined with this time lost sapphire. So yeah, that is kind of the update with the tree. Nothing too new here. But let's go into the actual, I guess, boss fight. I want to show you guys how the boss fight looks like, just to demonstrate to y'all how a single target kind of one punch setup would work, right? So, of course, when you start the fight, you're going to just hit the boss to try to rack up that combo counter. Depending on how strong your character is, you might want to have more or less combos, the combo meter being higher or lower depending on your gearing. For my character, I think I brought up to about 140 combo before I let it go for the big one punch, but yours might differ depending on your own situation. But basically, punch the boss until you get enough combo, and then you're going to go in and use your Infernal Cry, and then you're going to drop your Ice Wall, your Frost Wall, and then Gathering Storm. So you see there, we got the Ice Wall, we just did the Infernal Cry, then we're charging up the Gathering Storms and taking it right through the boss, which blows the boss up in addition to the Frost Walls. And I think it did about, 16 mil damage or something like that. I think this is it's 10 mil damage or so. It might have done 16 mil, who knows, right? That's just the limit of this boss. That's just how much HP it has. So it's a nice big burst. Again, I think Falling Thunder is probably going to be a much easier setup, but who doesn't like a big old punch like this, just blowing up the boss with a big old palm strike, right? Again, if you're playing this character, you're not really playing it for how optimal it is, because if you want optimal, you're still just going to go Falling Thunder. But if you want a cool character that has a charge up kind of attack with perfect window, perfect timing, and it's just a big old palm strike, this is the one for you. There's definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve, just an FYI for anybody who's trying to play this character. So if you don't hit your, Gathering Storms 100% of the time because of the perfect timing, that's totally understandable. I can't do that either. And also the Frost Wall setup is a little bit tricky to get and understand just off the, off the rip. I think when I was doing it, it took me maybe I don't know, 2 hours of practicing or something like that to actually get it down. So don't worry if you don't get it immediately. It is a little bit difficult to get. And again, I'll leave a link in the description below to show you kind of the methodology behind how to perfectly place your ice walls. But yeah, that all wraps up this video, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. Let me know if you're interested in playing this Gathering Storms variant of the one punch Hollow Palm Chayula monk. And as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, please, the sub button is the best way to support the channel, and it lets me know that you enjoy the content. I also stream every single night on twitch.tv/MeSelectShrew, so I'd love to see you guys there. But if not, hopefully I see y'all on the next video. All right, guys. Peace. Late endgame Hollow Palm is better. What's the investment for a good Hollow Palm build gear-wise? I don't think you need to invest much, to be honest. I mean, I think one div a piece type of situation is probably good enough to just get you, up and running on, every piece of content. I'm gonna be honest. But of course, you know, it'll be harder to do with lower investment, but I think you could definitely do it with about like 1 to 2 div per piece investment, which, you know, used to be a lot, but this season 1 to 2 div a piece is like kind of pretty modest, which is crazy because like 1 div a piece last season was like insanely like expensive, but this season everybody's just printing divines. They're printing divines, printing exalts and chaoses and everything. Mid is a lie, shit is trash. My game and its servers. I clear T15 easy. I'm ready for Uber bosses. There you go. There you go. Is Arc stronger than Spark versus bosses? Well, the thing is, the Arc builds, they all use lightning conduit or something like that, whatever that's called. Storm conduit, something like that, and they use that to one-shot bosses. So they don't necessarily one-shot with Arc. They one-shot. Well, actually, I think I've seen one-shot builds with like a cast on crit setup with like triple Arc or something like that. But I think Arc is probably better for bossing for that reason. Am I ready for Uber bosses? Yeah, totally. You got this, man. I believe. As long as you believe hard enough, you can do anything. I haven't seen a single Firestorm build. Do they exist? They should. I've seen some clips of Firestorm builds in, like, campaign. I don't know about endgame, though. Like, I saw some clips of, like, Firestorm builds, like, kind of wrecking bosses in campaign. What did I say Druid was confirmed? And what did I say Act 5 to 6 was confirmed? What did I say 0.22 was confirmed? I just all said, it just, well, actually 0.22 was confirmed by Jonathan. So that's not me lying. That was Jonathan lying. I just believed his word. Can you say why Crescendo 3 is better? Because essentially Booster Strike is aim for 2 enemies sounds weak. Well, the thing is, Ice Strike has really bad clear. Ice Strike has really bad clear. So being able to get multiple, like, getting ancestrally boosted is really nice. Again, you know, you might not value that. If you don't value it, then go Crescendo 2. But I value that a lot. So I go Crescendo 3. I also ancestrally boost my Hollow Palm, or my Shattering Palm too. So there's a chance that it'll just hit the other Shattering Palm targets and just cascade out of control. Diesel Governor would give me a milli pay up broski. When the fuck did I say that? I don't even got a milli myself. You want to give me a milli? I'll you know, if you give me 2 milli, I'll pay up 1 milli to you. How about that? How about that? Also, I'm so lost right now. Where am I supposed to go?
Fortune favors the prepared.
Fortune favors the prepared. Is that true? Is that why I never have fortune? Because I never prepare? Like, where am I supposed to go right now? Probably this way. Yo, what's up, Noise? How's it going? Oh, fuck. That shit slows you down or some shit.
Hate defines us all. Hate defines us all.
Dead. Paralyzing staff. pretty damn good now. Yo, let's go. What happened? Have you tried the lottery? Ain't the pot huge right now? I don't know. I've never considered doing the lottery, to be honest. Oh, monkey. Oh, monkey. Whoops. I did not proc the ice walls on the ground.